समस्त लोक सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोक सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोक सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु।
शांति शांति शांति।
तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
नमामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत शृण्वन्नोतिभिस्सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती दीनामवित्रयवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्। ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय ॐ नमस्ते रुद्रमन्यवमुतोर्दैशवे नमः नमस्ते अस्तु धन्वने बाहुभ्यामुदते नमः या तैषु शिवतमा शिवं बभूवते तनुः शिवा शरव्याया तव तया नो रुद्रमृडया या ते रुद्रशिवा तनूरघोरा पापकाशिनी तया नस्तनुभाषन्तमया गिरिशं ताभिजागशीः यामिषुं गिरिशन्तहस्ते विभक्ष्यस्तवे शिवां गिरित्रतां कुरु माहि पुंसि पुरुषं जगत् शिवेन वचसा वागिरिशाच्चावदामसि यदा नः सर्वमिज्जगदयक्ष्मगुं सुमना असत् अद्य वोचदति भक्ता प्रथमो नैव्योऽभिषत् अहीतुश्च सर्वान् जम्बयन् सर्वाश्च यातु नान्यः असौ यस्ताम्रो अरुण उत बभ्रुः सुमङ्गलः ये चेमागुं रुद्रा अवितो दिक्षु श्रुताः सहस्रशो वैशाखुं हेडयीमहे असौ योपसर्पति नीलग्रीवो विलोहितः उतैनं गोपा अदृशन्नदृशन्नुदहार्यः उतैनं विश्वा भूतानि स दृष्टो मृडयादिनः नमो अस्तु नीलग्रीवाय सहस्राक्षाय मीडुषे अतो ये अस्य सत्त्वानोऽहं तेभ्यो करन्नमः प्रमुञ्चदन्वनस्त्वमुभयोराग्नियोज्या याश्च ते हस्तैषवः पराता भगवो वपा अवतत्यदनुस्त्वगुं सहस्रांशशतेषु ते निशीर्य शल्यानां शिवो नः सुमना भवा विज्यं दनुःखपर्दिनो विशल्यो मानवागुम्भुता अनेशन्नस्येषव आमुरस्य निशङ्गतिः या ते हेतिर्मीदुष्टमहस्ते बभूवते गनुः तयास्मान् विश्वतस्त्वमयक्ष्मया परिभुजा नमस्ते अस्त्वायुधायानादकाय कृष्णवे उवाभ्यामुदते नमो बाहुभ्यां तव धन्वने परिते धन्वनो हेतिरस्मान् वृणक्तु विश्वतः अतो य इषुधिस्तवारे अस्मन्निदेहितम् नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। 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 शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
गौरी नंदन बाल गजानन गौरी नंदन बाल गजानन गजवदना गणनाथ गजानन गजवदना गणनाथ गजानन गजवदना गणनाथ गजानन गजवदना गणनाथ गजानन गौरी नंदन बाल गजानन गौरी नंदन बाल गजानन महागणपते पाहि गजानन गणपते पाहि गजानन महागणपते पाहि गजानन गणपते पाहि गजानन गजानना पाहि गजानना गजानना पाहि गजानना गजानना पाहि गजानना गजानना पाहि गजानना गौरी नंदन बाल गजानन गौरी नंदन बाल गजानन गजवदना गणनाथ गजानन गजवदना गणनाथ गजानन गौरी नंदन बाल गजानन गौरी नंदन बाल गजानन महागणपते पाहि गजानन महागणपते पाहि गजानन गजानना पाहि गजानना गजानना पाहि गजानना गजानना पाहि गजानना गजानना पाहि गजानना गौरी नंदन बाल गजानन परतीश्वरी जगज्जननी परतीश्वरी जगज्जननी जय 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 हे साई जननी जय 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 हे साई जननी जय 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 हे साई जननी जय जय हे साई जननी परतीश्वरी जगज्जननी परतीश्वरी जगज्जननी वेद कलामयी देवी भवानी वेद शरणं साई मां
शरणं शरणं साई मां
जय 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 हे साई जननी
जय 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 हे साई जननी
जय 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 हे साई जननी
जय जय हे साई जननी
परतेश्वरी जगत जननी
परमेश्वरी जगत जननी
जय 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 हे साई जननी
जय 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 हे साई जननी
परतेश्वरी जगत जननी
परमेश्वरी जगत जननी
वेद कलामयी देवी भवानी
वेदकलामयी देवी भवानी
नाद विद्यामयी नारायणी
नाद विद्यामयी नारायणी
करुणा सदनी करुणामयी मां
करुणा सदरी करुणामयी मां
शरणं शरणं साई मां
शरणं शरणं साई मां
जय 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 हे साई जननी
जय 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 हे साई जननी
जय 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 हे साई जननी
जय हे साई जननी
परतेश्वरी जगत जननी सर्वमङ्गला साई जननी
सर्वमङ्गला साई जननी
सर्वमङ्गला साई जननी
सर्वमङ्गला साई जननी
प्रतिनिवासिनी परमशिवानी
प्रतिनिवासिनी परमशिवानी
प्रतिनिवासिनी परमशिवानी
प्रतिनिवासिनी परमशिवानी
सर्वमङ्गला साई जननी
सर्वमङ्गला साई जननी
माता महेश्वरी दुर्गा भवानी
माता महेश्वरी दुर्गा भवानी
माता महेश्वरी दुर्गा भवानी निवासिनी परम शिवानी
भक्ति निवासिनी परम शिवानी
सर्वमङ्गला साई जननी
सर्वमङ्गला साई जननी
माता महेश्वरी दुर्गा भवानी
माता महेश्वरी दुर्गा भवानी
आदि पराशक्ति साई नारायणी
आदि पराशक्ति साई नारायणी
जगदोधारिणी भवभयहारिणी
जगदोद्धारिणी भवभयहारिणी
जगदोधारिणी भवभयहारिणी
जगदोद्धारिणी भवभयहारिणी
सर्वमङ्गला साई जननी जगत जननी शिव साई शंकरी
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 माता महेश्वरी पार्वती
महेश्वरी पार्वती
माता महेश्वरी पार्वती
माता महेश्वरी पार्वती
अभय प्रदायिनी गान विनोदिनी
भयप्रदायिनी गानविनोदिनी
अभय प्रदायिनी गान विनोदिनी
भयप्रदायिनी गानविनोदिनी
माता भवानी मां जय
भवानी मां जय
माता भवानी मां जय
माता भवानी
काली कपालिनी मां जय काली कपालिनी जगत जननी शिव साई शंकरी
जननी शिव साई शंकरी
माता महेश्वरी पार्वती
महेश्वरी पार्वती
अभय प्रदायिनी गान विनोदिनी
भयप्रदायिनी गानविनोदिनी
माता भवानी मां जय
भवानी मां जय
जय काली कपालिनी मां
I offer my most loving pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. I pray to Swami that he gives us all the understanding. It is Swami who speaks, and it is Swami who listens through all of us. Elders, brothers and sisters, salam to all of you. What is it to lead a spiritual life? Many of the talks that I myself have given in this forum is an attempt to answer this question. What is a spiritual life? What is it to lead a spiritual life? Certainly Swami's discourses are also based on this topic. But even then, if someone were to walk up to me and ask, as many times it has happened, so what is it to be spiritual? We are left wanting for words. It's very difficult to describe succinctly, coherently, in a very precise manner, what it is to lead a spiritual life. A couple of points that I've made before. As the word itself suggests, to be spiritual is to look at the spirit, right? Apart from the spirit that we refer to as the soul, the Atma, going to the spirit of any situation, any problem, any circumstance, is to have a spiritual outlook. As Swami would say, going beyond what this charma chakshu sees. It's a very beautiful word in Sanskrit. Charma means leather. So charma chakshu is this physical eye which is made of tissues. And Swami says you have to look with the jnana chakshu. Look at what is beyond the physical. That is the spiritual. The second, of course, is even as we go through life, when we face situations and problems, can we look more within, even as we try to solve the problem that is outside? Someone makes us angry, we respond to that, but even as we respond, can we look within and see from where that anger is coming? We buy something, we fulfill a desire, we feel happy. Even as we feel that satisfaction of a desire being fulfilled, can we look at desire itself and see how ephemeral this satisfaction is? So these are 2 points which probably define a spiritual life, where you're trying to look deep and you're trying to look within yourself. But there are 2 other aspects of daily life which define a spiritual life. And this is Swami has said it himself. One is to lead a duty-centric life. Is to lead a life where you're constantly asking yourself, what is my role? What am I supposed to do in this situation? Right? A duty-centric life. And the second is a life of gratitude. A life where you're grateful, and that gratitude can only come when you acknowledge the role that others play in your success, in your welfare, and in your sustenance. So a duty-centric life and a life of gratitude. If you look at Bharatiya culture, extensively spoken about by Swami, starting from the year 1972. Swami has had multiple summer courses on the topic Indian culture and spirituality. The Indian culture, or for that matter, any culture that promotes a spiritual life, will ensure that it makes the people who follow this culture lead a duty-centric life and a life of gratitude. The word culture itself is very interesting, right? Even in science, we use this term culturing. In the biology lab, we often come across that. So culturing literally means giving an environment so that the entity which is in that culture progresses in a certain direction. So they would culture fungus, they would culture a plant, they would culture a tissue, right? So culturing itself means that without much of your own volition, you progress in a certain direction. So a culture that promotes a spiritual life is, even if I do not ask this question, who am I? What is the purpose of life? What is spirituality? Even if I do not ask these questions, the culture itself will lead me to a direction where I start living a spiritual life. And Swami says, the essence of Bharatiya culture, Indian tradition, is to lead a duty-centric life and a life of gratitude. I'm sure one thing which most of you would have heard from Professor Gangadhar Shastri himself, he is also a regular speaker in this forum. He was once telling us, it was one of the early days when he had joined as a professor of political science in our college. He was not a devotee of Swami. He came looking for an opportunity to better his career, and that's how he came to Swami. So all of you must have heard of his transformation. A man with a thick moustache, with a addiction to smoking, and how beautifully Swami transformed him. So this was one of his early days. The classes used to happen in what is now the Ishwarama school. And Gangadhar Shastri sir was taking a class in civics. And those were days when Swami would often walk into the schools and colleges after he has finished the morning darshan, and he would just see what is going on. So even as he is teaching, he senses something orange at the doorway. He turns and he sees Swami standing at the door. And he looks at Swami and said, "Please come in, sir." "Why don't you please come in?" Right? He used to address Swami as sir in those days. And Swami said, "No problem, you continue, I'll stand here. I just want to observe your class." So he said, "Very well, sir." And then he continued his class on civics. And he was talking about rights and responsibilities and liberties. Even as he was taking this class, Swami comes in and Swami tells him, "You're teaching very well, but ensure that when you teach my students, you emphasize more on responsibilities and less on rights." And there are many, many discourses where Swami tells, and Swami has told the students directly, "I want you all to lead duty-centric lives because that is a spiritual life. Don't worry about your rights. Worry about others' rights." Swami said, worry about preserving others' lives. When you go out into the society, that should be your focus. And of course, the most classic proof for this statement that I am making, that a spiritual life is a duty-centric life, is when Arjuna asked Krishna, how should one live? He said, "Mama dharma." Right? Constantly ask, what is my dharma? What is my duty? What is my role? Coming to this idea of gratitude, it's a very, very interesting discourse. I'm sure I might have mentioned this before. The year 1989, you can go and look it up. Swami one day called all the Western devotees in the ashram to the bhajan hall and gave them a discourse. And in the course of the discourse, Swami was talking about the 5 Ds, right? Devotion, duty, discipline, discrimination, determination. And talking about devotion, Swami said, you think that devotion is doing bhajans, doing japa, doing namasmarana. Swami said, this is not devotion. This is only an expression of devotion. What is devotion itself? And Swami said, devotion itself is an expression of gratitude. You look at God and you thank Him for everything that He has given you. You thank Him for the sustenance that He has given you. And that gratitude expresses as devotion. So it's a very, very important point that Swami was making. Because if you look at gratitude, gratitude is expressed after you receive. Right? Somebody has given you something and you say thanks. So if I am supposed to do bhajans, namasmarana as gratitude, isn't it absurd to do this and expect something in return for that? If me taking Swami's name is in gratitude for what I have already received, then I will not expect a reward for my gratitude, isn't it? And that is what is a very, very important point that Swami makes about devotion itself. As part of my duties in Radio Sai, one of the programs that I do is on the Bhagavad Gita. And I'm going through the 3rd chapter week after week. So small portion of what I went through in the 3rd chapter is going to be a very important foundation for what I'm going to speak today. The 3rd chapter starts with a very interesting question that Arjuna asks. Arjuna says, from all that you have told in the 2nd chapter, he doesn't say 2nd chapter, he says, till now whatever you have told, one thing is very clear, that wisdom is important. Jnana is important. Self-knowledge is what one must pursue. But having established that, why are you asking me to fight? Why are you asking me to perform action? And then he tells Krishna, you decide, action or jnana. Tell me what to do. Don't confuse me. Tell me clearly. And then Krishna, of course, goes on to say a very subtle and important point. He uses the word naishkarmya, a state of actionlessness. And Krishna says, by not doing action, you don't reach the state of naishkarmya. That's a very simplistic approach. Similarly, but by not doing, you cannot give up doership. So you have to act, but act in a manner that you will transcend action. You have to do your duty, but do it in a manner that you will transcend doership. And that is the discourse all about, the Bhagavad Gita, right? The Karma Yoga is all about that. So Krishna tells, do action in such a way that it does not bind you. And then in the beginning of the chapter, he goes on to say, do your actions as a yagna. As you perform a yagna. A very, very profound, beautiful portion where he says, all actions that are performed as a yagna, O Arjuna, do not bind you. And then comes another part, continuation of this topic of yagna, where he says that when God created the world, He gave to man the process of yagna, through which he can fulfill all his needs and desires. And then Krishna says that through your actions, through your yagna, propitiate the various deities and let them be pleased and propitiate you in return. And thereby you lead a happy life. This particular portion where Krishna says that there are deities who govern our life. There is a rain god, there is a sun god, there are deities for each season. There is a deity for rain, there is a deity for water. There is a deity for each direction. So Krishna says, worship all of these forms and they will reward you in return. It sounds like a very ritualistic pagan approach to life, but in there lies a very, very important concept. More importantly, it means that you are going to do whatever you are doing as an expression of your duty and an expression of your gratitude. So when I take up any action, the question that I ask myself is this my duty? Is this my dharma? Am I doing my dharma? And I perform it, and when I start getting results for it, when I start getting rewarded for it, I again continue to do my actions, but this time as an expression of my gratitude. So this portion, where Yagna is spoken about as a means, is a very intelligent way by which karma can be dissolved, or the binding nature of karma can be dissolved. Why? Because there is always a reaction for every action that is performed. So what Krishna says is, bring this concept of yagna in between. So what you do becomes an offering. The consequences of your action become a prasadam. Right? So now mentally you are breaking the connection between action and reaction. So whatever I do, I have to do it as my offering in that fire. And that idea of throwing anything into the fire is very symbolic and very significant. Why don't we have a yagna where you have a trough of water and you drop things into that? Why don't we have a yagna where there's just an altar and we place things there? Because what is dropped into fire cannot be recovered. When you say you do your actions as an offering, you do it with the attitude that I don't want anything in return for this. But still there will be consequences. That is the nature of the world. But when it comes, you accept it as a prasadam. But this portion of how action is to be performed as a yagna, apart from being a very spiritual model, it is also a model of how we must live in harmony with nature. How we must live a sustainable life, right? That's a word which is very often used in the modern context. A green, sustainable, eco-friendly life. Just 2-3 shlokas from the Gita speak about how this culture promotes a sustainable life. Now let's come to the topic of the day, finally, right? The 5 mothers. Pretty much similar to what I spoke till now of what Krishna says in the Gita. Swami says that if you want to lead a spiritual life, if you want to progress towards your goal, there are 5 mothers in our life that we must honor, respect, and pay our gratitude to. And Swami says, Deha Mata, Go Mata, Bhu Mata, Desha Mata, and Veda Mata. Deha Mata is the mother of this body, the physical mother. Go Mata is the cow. Bhu Mata is the earth, right? And Desha Mata is the motherland, and Veda Mata is the Vedas that sustain the knowledge. The Deha Mata is someone we all can relate to, right? The mother of the body. And Swami says very beautifully in a discourse, God's love is indirect. God will never come in front of you and say, take this food. Oh, you're feeling cold, wear these warm clothes. Oh, you're not feeling well, let me take care of you the whole night. God's love comes in a very indirect manner, but the love of the mother is very direct. And Swami says, if you cannot acknowledge the love which is direct, you will never come to acknowledge the love that is indirect. One of these small children once wrote to us at Radio Sai asking a very important question. She says, I think she was an 8-year-old child. She said, my mother keeps telling me that Swami has the love of 1,000 mothers. She said, it is very easy for me to understand my mother's love. I love my mother a lot. I hug her tight when I go to sleep. Whatever I do, I try to please her. Whatever I need, I go and ask her. It's very easy for me to understand my mother's love. But how do I understand Swami's love, which is supposed to be that of 1,000 mothers? The child's approach was so pure, isn't it? And that's precisely what Swami says. Why is it that we're able to understand the mother's love? Because we are aware of it. We are able to see it play in front of us. We are seeing it every day express itself in front of us. We are seeing direct consequences of that love in our own life. As children, we were all more aware of it than we are as we grow up, right? That's the sad reality. So the answer to that question in one line is, the more we start becoming aware of God's love, the more we will see that 1,000 mothers' love. And Swami says, the process is to start by respecting the 5 mothers. And eventually you will come to understand what divine love or divine mother's love is all about. Again, this is an incident which probably you would have heard from the person to whom it happened. Brother Satyajit, who used to be in Swami's residence for many, many years. He had the opportunity to serve Swami physically, being close in Swami's Mandir. So he was narrating, every year, a couple of weeks, his parents would come to Parthi. And invariably, the time that he would get to meet them is when Swami goes for darshan. So when Swami would go for darshan, his mother would come to meet Satyajit, right? Because that's the only time Brother Satyajit could come out of his room. Because all the other time he had to be serving Swami. So it so happened that one of the trips when she came, he had enormous amount of work in office, in Mandir, and he just could not find time to come out and see his mother. So finally it was the last day they were leaving. That evening they were leaving, just managed to squeeze half an hour, and he came out just to see his mother and send her off, mother and father. The moment the mother saw, she started crying. She said, I've been here for a week, you never found time to come and see me, you do not care for me, and So Brother Satyajit, what he did, he looked at his mother and he said, what stupidity is this? You're supposed to be attached to God, why are you being attached to me? And then for the next half an hour, he filled that little time that he had with his mother with a discourse on how one must be detached. The mother, who was already feeling sad, left feeling all the more miserable. So they left, they were about to leave, and he went back to Mandir. And as he was walking back to Mandir, he was feeling proud about how he had imbibed Swami's message and how he managed to convince his mother. He walks into Swami's presence and Swami asks him, did you meet your parents? He said, yes, Swami. So what did you speak? What did they ask? So very triumphantly, he goes on to explain the conversation that he had with his mother. Swami's face turned red in anger. He said, how dare you speak to your mother like that? Who are you to tell your mother that she cannot be attached to you? Swami was wild with him. Swami said, get up right now and go and tell her what she said was not wrong. And he was dilly-dallying. He said, Swami, they might have left by now. I can't catch them. Swami said, will you go or not? Get up and go. And Swami said, a mother who has held you in her womb for 9 months, you do not have the right to tell her that she cannot have attachment to you. These are words of God, right? Because Swami says, if you cannot understand that love, how on earth are you going to come and understand my love? It's impossible, right? We all get carried away by spirituality sometimes like this. We certainly have to grow spiritually beyond the mother, right? And that's why Swami would say that your love for your mother should be so much that this thought that I gave her pain for 9 months should be so strongly rooted in your heart that you should take a resolve, I will not put another mother through the same pain. That should make you spiritual. Right? It is not that, what is there in a mother's love? What is there in that attachment? No, that love should be so deep, no, I will not give another mother this pain, this will be my last birth. I will not enter a womb again. Swami says that should be the resolve. Right? The way we look at spirituality sometimes is so contorted, isn't it? In fact, when we were talking to one of the elderly devotees, Miss Rani Java, the daughter of Mr. Java, who was a very, very ardent devotee of Swami. Swami used to call him Arjuna, because Swami used to be so fond of him. When Swami had gone to East Africa, Mother Ishwarama was very, very concerned. Most of you must be knowing those stories. She was very upset with Professor Kasturi and she called him and she said, what is this? Why are you taking Swami to this forest, to Africa? Because, living in a city itself, you'll have misconceptions about Africa. She comes from a village where people told her, Africa, there are man-eaters, there are animals which eat men, there are men who eat men. So she was scared. So she went and told Professor Kasturi, why are you taking my Swami away to such a place? I heard there are these creatures and there are these cannibals. So Professor Kasturi smiled and he told, Amma, why are you so scared? Isn't our Swami God? What will happen to him? And Mother Ishwarama said, you fool, you and I know, but do those beasts know that he is God? What if they eat him up? So Swami was so concerned about the mother. Of course, Swami brushed her fear aside. But when Swami went to East Africa, Swami took Mother Ishwarama till Bombay, and Swami ensured that she would stay in Mr. Java's house. And Swami went to Africa. And Miss Rani Java was telling that in those few weeks that Swami was in East Africa, almost every other day Swami used to call up and speak to Mother Ishwarama to assure her that he is fine. The same Swami who looked at Mother Ishwarama and he said, I don't belong to you. We have spoken about those 20th October when he declared 3 days later the mother comes running from Puttaparthi. Swami is in Uruvakonda. The first thing Mother Ishwarama asks is, did my child eat anything? Right? Here is God, He's put on a pedestal, everybody is worshipping Him, everybody is around Him singing bhajans. But the first thing the mother comes and asks is, has he eaten? And they tell her that, no, Swami has not eaten for 3 days. So the first thing she does is she goes inside, she prepares a meal, she comes. And Swami says, mix everything together. And Swami takes 3 morsels from her. And Swami says, Maya has left me. Right? Swami looks at Mother Ishwarama and says, Maya, are we more spiritual than Swami? That Swami gave that place to Mother Ishwarama. Every day he called her up and Miss Rani Java would say, I learnt how to respect my parents the way I observed Swami behave. Right? And in fact, imagine, Swami has said this in his discourses. We have all those recordings. Swami says, Sathya Sai is what he is today because of Mother Ishwarama. Talk of gratitude. Here is the Supreme Lord. Right? Brahmanda Nayaka. And he says, I am what I am because of my mother. What do? We start worshipping Mother Ishwarama. Swami says, no, regard your own mother as God. Right? That's why Swami would say, in the Gurukula, 12 years, 20 years, they teach you about the self, they teach you about the Atman, they teach you all Brahma Vidya. And finally, on the day of convocation, Swami says, what does the Guru tell? Matra Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. After telling that you're not this body, you're not attached to anybody, you do not have any relationships, the first advice is Matra Devo Bhava. Learn to respect and worship your own mother. In fact, when I'm talking about these 5 mothers, the first time Swami mentioned it in a discourse was when Swami was actually inaugurating the Anantapur College for Women in 1968. And Swami said this culture teaches us to worship 5 mothers. And through the worship of these 5 mothers, you will come to reach God. And in these 5 mothers, the most important is the Deha Mata. Because it is she who can teach the child to revere the other 4 mothers. And Swami says, and hence, to educate the mothers of the future, I am starting this college. Right? Swami's vision was so clear and so lofty. The second mother is Gomata, the cow. Most controversial topic to speak today, isn't it? The country is aflame with the topic of Gomata. Apart from that, of course, I don't want to get into a debate with veganism promoters. I've had that opportunity many times in the past. The only consolation or the only point that I tell myself is, one of the greatest avatars, one of the Purna avatars, he came on earth and he became a Gopala. He promoted drinking milk. So it cannot be fundamentally wrong, right? If we start the debate of, is it right we taking milk from the cow which was meant for the calf? I don't know. But Krishna was there, he was a Gopala, wasn't it? So it cannot be fundamentally wrong, and the cow became a very, very important part of Indian culture in many, many ways. One is, of course, the milk, the nourishment. The bull, of course, was part of the agriculture that was there in the earlier days. And apart from that, just not the milk and the curd that nourishes the body, they looked at the cow as the provider of ghee, which was very, very an important ingredient in the worship of God, right? So they gave a very important status to the cow. And if you look at it, probably the cow is the only animal we do not associate with animal qualities. Right? When Swami says animal qualities, I think a couple of days back there was a thought for the day where Swami says you get this quality from the cat, you get this quality from the fox, you get this quality from the fish. Probably cow is the only animal which Swami does not associate with basal tendencies or animal qualities, because a cow is always seen as a symbol of purity. Going back to those few verses of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says all the forces of nature have to be looked up as deities and worshipped. If you don't worship, they will continue to do their work. Just because I do not worship the rain, it will not stop raining. Just because I do not chant Brahmarpanam and acknowledge the fire within, it does not mean the fire will not digest. The food will not digest. But when I acknowledge it, there is something that changes fundamentally in me, and as we will see, even in the environment. When you look at all of these beings as deities, the first thing is you will look at them with respect, right? Because when you when you say the Deha Mata, the body's mother, the love and care that the mother gives is a very conscious love and care. She willfully, she consciously, and she's with her own awareness, she's giving you, right? When she gives you the best portion of the food, when she puts herself to discomfort and gives you the comfort, she's doing it consciously. The moment we come to the cow, we don't take the cow's permission, right? We take what we want. There, the giver is not giving consciously. And in fact, even if you look at Bhumata or the earth does not give consciously, does not choose to give, but we are choosing to take. So it becomes very important to strike a very balanced relationship with an entity like that. So when Krishna says, you propitiate the deities and let the deities propitiate you in return, he's speaking of what we refer to as a symbiotic relationship. I serve you, you serve me. I do you a favor and you do me a favor. We are interdependent on each other. Right? And it becomes very, very important when you're looking at entities which are not giving you willfully, you are taking. When the mother gives, we receive. But we will not grab in a manner that she does not have for herself, isn't it? And Swami was speaking about accepting gifts. In one discourse, Swami speaks about the quality of aparigraha, accepting gifts. So Swami says, you can accept gifts from parents, you can accept gifts from siblings as much as you can give. Don't accept gifts from anybody else. You can accept unlimitedly from God. So when Swami speaks about accepting from parents, Swami gives a very beautiful thing. Parents you can take as much as they can give, but don't demand. Don't put them to trouble by demanding for more. Right? So when we look at this relationship with the mother definitely sacrifices and gives, and we also accept. But we will not grab from her in such a manner that she herself will starve. Isn't it? There's that very beautiful and moving story that Swami would often say about the little boy who went begging for his mother. Swami would himself start choking when he's narrating that story. He would say that there was this mother, she loses everything, she becomes a widow, she has this little child, and she has no means of feeding the child, she starts begging. And for days together, she goes hungry and she gives away all the food to the boy because she's not able to receive much in alms. And eventually she becomes very sick. The boy says, I will go and beg on your behalf. The boy is very weak. Swami says he goes to a house. And there's a very kind man there. He says that you look so weak, you sit down and you will sit here. And the boy says, no, please give me the food in my hand. I want to take it to my mother. And the rich man thinks that this fellow is lying, that he's trying to take away the food and sell it somewhere. And he says, nothing doing, you have to sit here and you have to eat. And Swami says that boy starts muttering, first for my mother, first for my mother, first for my mother, and he dies. Right? So when a mother gives, we will accept, but we will never grab in a manner that she herself does not have for herself, right? That is what gratitude does. That is what the attitude of love does. So when Swami says Go Mata, when Swami says Bhu Mata, you will receive, but you will receive with reverence. You will take, but you will not be indiscriminate in your grabbing. That is what has happened today, right? We look at the cow, we look at it as a resource. We look at the earth, we look at it as a treasure chest which we can plunder. But Swami says, propitiate, give and then take. And then says a very beautiful point. He says, those who partake of food without offering are thieves. Those who partake of food after offering slowly get rid of all their sins. But those who partake without offering are eating their own sins. They're not eating food, they're eating their own sins. So that this relationship between nature, so that this relationship between other beings around us, from whom we benefit so much, does not become a parasitic relationship, so that it remains a symbiotic relationship. This Bharatiya culture taught us this method of looking at each one of them as deities, as mothers, as beings that are being kind to us, right? It is not a pagan way of looking at things. It's a very smart way, right? As I said, a culture, even if I don't ask spiritual questions, the culture ensures that I lead a spiritual life. And to add to it, what do? In all the rituals, they make worshipping the cow a part of the ritual, so that it gets drilled into your head respect that animal, it gives you so much. Right? It becomes an important part. Of course, there are spiritual connotations to each one of this. I'm not going into that. I'm purely talking about what it does to our everyday life. Right? Because they say that each part of the cow represents a divinity, and it's a very deep topic which I'm not qualified to talk about. But purely this, without explaining much, they've made it a part of our culture and how it regulates our life. I still recall when we were in Vrindavan, we know that all of Swami's campuses, especially in Parthi and Vrindavan, we have a Gokulam, right? Where there is, Swami has many cows. There were days, just like how Swami used to visit the hostel, Swami used to visit the Gokulam every day. And Swami would know each one of the cows by name. And Swami, when he's speaking to the Gokulam boys, Swami used to call the cowboys. Swami will ask by name, hey, how's that Lakshmi? How's that? Each one of the cows. And an interesting piece of information, for a long, long time, our hostel did not have fans. Before the hostel could get fans, the Gokulam got fans. Swami gave fans to the cows before he gave it to the students. Right? So when we were in Vrindavan, one of the devotees had come to Swami with a proposal that he wanted to start a vriddhashram for cows. Right? So he wanted to start a vriddhashram, an old age home for cows. So Swami was very happy. Swami blessed the project. And he looked at Swami and said, Swami, I'm starting this as a blessing. Can I have an old cow which has stopped yielding milk from Swami's Gokulam? Right? When you start a business, the first investment if Swami gives, it would be nice, right? So he's saying, I'm starting an old age home for cows. Can you give an old cow from your Gokulam? Swami said, no. Swami said, why would I give? That devotee was stunned, and Swami said, they have served us. It is our duty to take care of them. Why would I send them to you? Right? See, that is the approach that Swami had. Because these beings will never tell that I can't give you milk today. We just go and take. At least when we look at them as mother, the way we will treat them will be different. Right? And that is the whole idea. Coming to the third mother, Gomata. As I said, at least the cow also does not give consciously, but a cow's pain can be seen. Right? When the cow starts suffering, at least somewhere that compassionate ground will be there. When we look at the animal as an animal which has pain, something might stop us. But when we look at Earth, Bhumata, Swami says Mother Earth, the suffering of the Mother Earth is a little more subtle. Right? Now we see it. Now we are seeing calamities. Now we are seeing droughts. Now we are seeing change in the climate. And Swami would say all of this is because of all of you fellows. You've plundered Mother Earth and she's responding. Right? There was a very beautiful discourse, I am not sure when, either during the earthquake in Bhuj or one of the natural calamities which happened. Swami spoke at length about how all of these natural calamities is because of man's greed. Right? And Swami said, people come and ask me, Swami, why don't you stop them? See, an earthquake happens, thousands of people die. A flood happens, a tsunami happens, so many people die. You're God, you come here on earth, why don't you stop them? Swami said, why would I? You have done a karma, you will get the consequence. Right? But Swami said, when the consequence comes, when the natural disaster happens, here is an opportunity for you to express your humanity. Go and serve. Don't ask me, Swami, why are you sending us for serving? You could have stopped the calamity itself. Swami said, no, I will not do that. This is a result of your action. You have to suffer it. But even as you're doing it, as an example, I am standing up and doing this seva so that you will be inspired to express your humanity. So all these natural calamities are expressions of our misuse of earth, but it takes time to show, right? But there is another very beautiful aspect of nature, of Mother Earth. So when you look at your relationship with your mother, one is gratitude, the other is the care that you have to give to her, the love that you have to give, and the other is learning, right? As Swami would say, that's the first school. When you talk of the mother, you're talking of the first teacher. So in this relationship between a child and a mother, a very important aspect is learning. And when we look at the earth, nature, there is so much to learn from it. When we are doing anything, right, especially when you're doing something in your professional life, we're always looking at what is the impact factor of my work. Right? We are trying to quantify the results of our work. Be it in radio side when we are working, how many people are listening to the stream? How many people are reading an article? You are spending so much time. What is the productivity it is coming? We are all looking at numbers, right? So similarly, a teacher who teaches in the school, 20 years I've taught. How many of my students have become engineers and doctors and come well in life? We are always looking at productivity, and when it does not match, we feel that we are unproductive. Just take the example of a mango tree. Why does a mango tree produce mangoes? Going back to secondary school biology, right? What they say is every being on earth wants self-propagation, right? The species should not end with that. So the mango produces a seed. The seed is wrapped in a tasty fruit so that some animal or some human will come and eat the fruit and take the seed and drop it somewhere, and there a tree will come. Right? It's a method of self-propagation so that the species does not end. So one mango tree, how many seeds does it have to produce? One seed is enough. One mango is enough. Why not the mango tree take all the resources that it receives and produce one mango? Okay, fine. One mango, odds are very low. 10 mangoes, at least 2-3 of those mangoes will become mango trees. 10 mangoes are enough. But how many mangoes does a mango tree produce? To produce those few hundreds of mangoes every season, how many tens of thousands of flowers it produces? If we were to work like that, we will think that we are wasting our life. But as one of the scientists who looks at phenomena in the earth, he once says, see, the mango tree's thinking is totally different. If at all there is a thinking for a mango tree. He says the approach of nature is so different. Of the thousands of mango flowers, maybe only 100 become fruits. Of those few hundreds, only a few hundred become ripe fruits. But imagine all those mango flowers which fall on the ground will eventually become nourishment for the ground. And that nourishment will seep into the water. The water will become rich. That water, groundwater, will flow somewhere else and some other tree will benefit. So the nature in itself has a way by which it thinks beyond its own needs. It is inbuilt into the nature. So when you say that a cow produces milk more than it requires, I don't know whether it's scientifically right or not, but when you say that a tree produces more than it requires for its own self, there is a truth in that, because it's the nature's way of looking at productivity in a completely different way. My mother is not here today. Usually she'll come and attend my talks. She's not here. She's out of town. Many times when I look at my own work, in whether in the studio or the work of anybody else working in the ashram or in office, right? We always try to quantify. I have booked 3 hours of work. What is the productivity? If you're a commercial organization, you look at it from the point of view of profits. If you look at it from the point of view of you running a restaurant, you look at it as, I am a cook, how many people have eaten? Oftentimes I would think of this. 3 hours, 4 hours of a morning session, I work and I'm looking at my productivity. One day I thought, what is the productivity of my mother? 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day, she cooks. 3-4 dishes. And she cooks for one person. 3 hours of what she has put in, I probably just go into my house, in 10 minutes it's over. The food is over. I've done with my thing and I walk out. And to be honest, I think 1 in 1,000 days I tell her the food is good. Because we are in our own thinking, we are thinking of something else. We are not even sensitive enough probably to tell that more often to our mothers. What is a productivity? See, when as a speaker I come, when somebody comes and tells you, sir, please come and address this gathering, and I ask them how many people are going to be listening, and if they tell me 10 people, oh, only 10, fine. So I'll prepare less. 1,000 people are going to be in the audience. Oh, 1,000 people, I'll have to prepare more. See, this is how our thinking is. But the mother never thinks like that. 3 hours of what she is doing is going to be finished in 10 minutes, and it is only for one person. That's how nature lives. That's how nature serves. The way nature looks at productivity is completely different. And when we say look at nature as mother, apart from the fact that we don't plunder nature, we don't ill-treat nature, we have to learn this quality from nature. This is what is karma yoga. I am not bothered about the result. I will do what I am doing perfectly. There is a mechanism in this universe which will ensure that who needs to get this will get it. The tree does not think, oh, is it going to that particular tree? Is it getting nourished? Is it happening? No. It just does what it's supposed to do. And Swami says, in nature, all of this is programmed. But to you, I am giving you free will so that you can consciously do this. The example that I give is, suppose I want to go from here to Bangalore. I can go to the bus stand, get into a bus. The bus is going to take me 4 hours, 4.5 hours to reach Bangalore. I'll go safely, right? The bus will stop at different places. Suddenly the driver will want to have some tea. I have no control. But I will reach. But suppose I want to reach earlier. Or suppose I want to take a long time. I want to take a long drive. What should I do? I should have my own vehicle. I should drive my own car. Now, if I'm going to travel in a bus, I don't have to worry about the traffic rules. That's somebody else's headache, automated. Dharma is automated. But if I want to drive, the advantage comes with the responsibility. Now, dharma becomes my conscious duty. Morality becomes my conscious duty. So what nature is doing in a pre-programmed manner, I must be able to take and consciously practice in my life. That is why if you see many, many great thinkers, many, many great poets, many, many great scholars are students of nature, isn't it? Be it Kalidasa, be it Rabindranath Tagore. Dattatreya said, I have 24 gurus. And he said, the spider, the crow, this, that. Because he looked at everything around him as something that is having a lesson to teach. There's this very beautiful incident which one of the old students was once narrating to us. One day Swami came inside the Bhajan hall and Swami was just talking to the students there casually, and Swami asked, does anybody know Wordsworth? Does anybody know Wordsworth? And the boys were very surprised that Swami is speaking about this English poet of the 19th century. And they said, yes, sir, yes, Swami, William Wordsworth is a great poet. Poet Kadu, he is an Advaitin, Swami said. He's not a poet, he's an Advaitin. He is a practitioner of non-dualism. And that was a surprise. We all knew that he was a poet, but Swami was saying that he was an Advaitin. And Swami said, really? And then Swami said, see, he did not have the opportunity to live with an avatar, but still he was an Advaitin. Look at all of you. And then Swami asked, does any of you know any of his poems? So one of the students whose mother was an English teacher, again, gratitude to the mother. Mother was an English teacher and made him by heart the Daffodils poem by William Wordsworth, the most famous poem that he's written. So this boy put up his hand and he said, Swami, I know. And Swami said, Cheppu, recite. So he started reciting the poem, and the first line itself is about, the golden daffodils dancing. He thinks of himself as floating like a cloud and all of that. And Swami said, stop. See, he's talking about the flowers. The daffodils, they bloom only once in the day. By evening they fade. Morning they again come. So Swami says he is referring to the ephemeral nature of beauty in the world, which does give happiness, right? Swami said he is referring to that. And then Swami said, okay, recite. And then he was reciting, and for each line Swami was giving what William Wordsworth actually had in mind when he wrote it. And it was an explanation which no other English teacher would give. And when he finally came to the last paragraph, I'll probably read out those lines and then explain it, because what Swami thought was so important. The last few lines goes, for oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon the inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasures fills and dances with the daffodils. So when he narrated this, or when he recited this, Swami said, see, what did you understand what he is saying? Swami asked, what is a pensive mood? Pensive mood which is there in solitude, he says. What is a pensive mood? Swami says it's a meditative state. Okay? And then Swami says, see the poem. He saw beauty in nature and he relished that beauty. It was a pure joy, right? It is not pleasure, but it is beauty in nature. There's always a pure joy. Swami says that is bhutakasha. That is the pleasure that is felt in this physical world, bhutakasha. Then Swami says in a pensive mood, he sees in the inward eye. What is the inward eye? Swami says, ade chittakasha, the sky of the mind. So what he saw in the world, now he is contemplating in his mind. And he says, I felt the same joy. Swami said, that is what is moving from bhutakasha to chittakasha. And then Swami says, the third is chidakasha. Because he says, now I dance with the daffodils, which means I feel one with them. See, I saw them really in life. They gave me delight. And when I'm alone, when I'm meditative, I'm thinking of them, that gives me joy. And that joy makes me feel one with them. Swami said, Bhutakasha, Chittakasha and Chidakasha. This is a poem on Advaita, Swami says. That is what nature can teach. Because when the Purusha Suktam says, when God created world, unlike other philosophies and other cultures, the Purusha Suktam does not say God created the world. The Purusha Suktam says God became the world. Right? He himself, a part of him, one quarter of him, became this manifest world. Right? So this important trait of how nature works, how nature looks beyond itself, it is not selfish. There is self-interest. Right? That's why that again I'm going back to that Gita verse. You take care of them, they will take care of you. And then Krishna says, this process of Yagna, God gave it to mankind as a wish-fulfilling cow. He says as a wish-fulfilling cow, which means enjoy. Do whatever you want. Fill all your life. Satisfy all your desires. But you ensure you lead your life in this manner. With gratitude. Do your duty with an attitude of, this is my dharma, and receive whatever you get with an attitude of gratitude. So that is what the Gomata is, the Bhumata is all about. And similarly is the Deshamata, right? The motherland. one of the most famous verses that Swami always quotes. And I still cannot forget the vision of Swami standing in Trai Vrindavan, and he starts talking about India. There will be a different look on Swami's face. See, when Swami speaks about Bharatiya culture, that's a different thing. Swami is talking about the spiritual aspect of Bharatiya culture. But when Swami speaks about Bharat, when Swami speaks about India, Swami's face will be aflame with that patriotism. We've seen Swami standing there in Trai Vrindavan, and Swami is like thumping his chest and saying, we should be proud we are Bharatiyas. And Swami would say, Janani Janma Bhumischa Swargatapi Nagariyasi. This famous statement that Rama made when Lakshmana asked, Lanka is so beautiful, why don't we stay back here? Right? Lakshmana was suggesting that they will become NRIs. The foreign country is looking more beautiful, why don't we settle there? And Rama said, Janani Janma Bhumischa. Just because a mother is more beautiful, will I give up my own mother? Just because another lady is more rich, another lady is more talented, will I give up my own mother? And similarly, the way society nourishes us is a little more subtle. The way the earth nourishes us is easier to find. Little more easier than that is to see how the cow nourishes us. Much, much more easier than that is to realize how your own mother nourishes you. But the desham, the nation, how it takes care of you, becomes a little more subtle. You have to look a little more keenly. That's why Swami says, let's say you become a very successful doctor, or become a very successful architect. You cannot claim your success all yourself. If the society did not provide you the opportunity, where could have you been? If you're a musician, you're performing, if there is no audience, if there is no one enjoying your work, how could have you been what you are? So you should never undermine the role society plays in your life. And the more that gratitude comes, I achieve something and I say, oh my God, how many people have contributed to this success of mine? As I've said this many, many times, I sit here and I speak for 1 hour. How many teachers have contributed for my ability to speak like this? How many English teachers would have taught me the language? How many moral science teachers would have contributed to my thinking? How many science teachers have contributed to my thinking? How many people have inspired me in this way? When someone comes and pats and says, you did a good job, how can I claim the credit? Right? That's what the gratitude does. So when you bring this attitude of gratitude, that's what Swami says, doership has no meaning. When I achieve something, I look back and I see thousands of people who have contributed to my achievement. Will I feel a sense of doership? Won't I feel that I was one among these thousands who contributed to this? So that is why doing whatever you're doing as your duty, that's a different topic, it's very deep, we've done that many, many times. But this idea of looking at everything in nature and saying you're a mother, you're divine, brings this culture of reducing doership and doing what we're supposed to do. And finally, Swami says, comes Veda Mata. In our relationship with our mother, one is loving her, taking care of her, expressing gratitude, learning. But there is another very, very important aspect of a relationship between a mother and a child, which the mothers will not spare me if I don't mention. That is obedience. What is the point if you cannot obey your mother? I love my mother so much, but whatever she says, I will not do. Obedience is a very, very important aspect of his relationship with the mother. Again, an incident you all must have known. Professor Nanjundaya sir always quotes this. Once when Swami wrote a letter to him, Swami said, the best way to propagate Vedanta, is through practicing it. Not by preaching it, not by writing books, not by coming and giving Satsang hall talks, but by practicing it. So when Swami says Veda Mata is the fifth mother, obedience to the lifestyle the Vedas preach is the best way you give your respect to this mother. And the Veda Mata is such that, let's say I do not follow any of the moralities. I am a very corrupt person. Still I will benefit from morality, won't I? Because for me to cheat, someone else has to be moral. Somebody else must be leading a dharmic life for me to take advantage of that person. So it's a crooked way of putting it, but a Veda Mata will benefit even such a person, isn't it? Morality benefits even an immoral person. If you think that, oh, I have never read the Vedas, I have never read the Upanishads, no, but still you benefit from it. And that is why the benefit that we get from the Veda Mata is much, much more subtler than the benefit that we get from our nation and from the earth, from the cow and from our own mother. It's a very subtle benefit. When we look back, we will say that, oh, this is the maximum benefit. Right? Because that is what Krishna was telling. All your actions that you do, continue to do that. But I'm going to teach you a method from the Vedas by which all of this can be burnt in one shot. A pile of karmas, consequences of all your actions that you have done, is like a bale of cotton. The message from Vedanta is like that matchstick. That's all it takes. Right? So that is the enormity of what nourishment we receive from the Veda Mata. And the only way you can show respect is obedience, is to practice that, is to take it upon our own life and start living that, right? This is the grandest nature of this culture, where it says, you look at anything around you, you can start worshipping it. There's this very beautiful tradition, apparently in one of the Himalayan regions. Somebody had shared this picture once on social media, it became very viral. There was this lady, very simple village lady, who is sitting down and doing some puja in the middle of nowhere. There was no temple in the site, there was not even a field, there was nothing, there was no idol there, and she was just doing a puja. So this man went up to her and asked, what are you worshipping? She said, I'm worshipping the path. There was just a path leading to her house, to the main city or the main village. She said, I'm worshipping the path, because thanks to this path, my children can go to school, I can go procure food, I can reach out to the world. So this is a culture where you can look at anything. You can look at your car and you can worship it. There are auto drivers, lorry drivers who worship their vehicle because it's a means of sustenance. We have the Ayudha Puja, we worship all the implements that we use. A barber looks at his knife and his scissors and he worships it. Right? That is the beauty of this culture. But unfortunately today we've all spiraled down to a hypocritical life. We worship mother, but atrocities against women don't reduce. We worship Gomata, but the same cow we will inject with something and so that the productivity increases. They've all become hypocrites. But hypocrisy should be resolved in the right direction. Swami says you should have unity of thought, word and deed. Yes, the thought and word we are perfect because we know what Swami expected, we know what we have to speak. But we are not able to follow it in the deed. So what do? We try to resolve the hypocrisy in the wrong manner by stopping what we are supposed to speak and thinking wrong things. No, continue to pursue with that noble thought. Strive to ensure that your deeds also fall in line. Yes, we are leading an hypocritical life. Don't give up the worship of the Gomata. Don't give up the worship of the Deshamata. Don't give up the worship of nature. But ensure that it starts showing up in your actions. Right? The whole idea of worship, looking at all these as deities, is finally to lead a life of love, isn't it? Whatever you do it with love. Swami would say, and Swami would sit on a discourse table. Even now those videos are all available. And Swami would drink water Swami would take a glass as gently as you can. Swami will close the door, there will be no noise. Why? Swami says everything is divine. Why do you have to be harsh with anything? Right? If you bang the door, Swami will say, hey, why are you making so much noise? When Swami was in the Mandir here, Swami came down and asked, who switched off the lights yesterday? Why? Tap, 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 tap. Why so much noise? Swami was saying, do everything gently because everything is divine. Right? Because as I said, the level of subtlety keeps increasing from a Deha Mata to Veda Mata. So when you start developing this attitude of gratitude with the obvious and direct form of love, slowly you will start finding it easier and easier to express love to God who is so hidden, who doesn't come before our eyes. Right? Even when Swami was in the physical form, how many of us can clearly say that Swami took care of me like this? It is all through somebody else, isn't it? It's all through a miraculous means. Oh, I was stranded in this place, suddenly somebody came with a car and they took me. Swami's grace. Oh, this was supposed to happen and suddenly something happened and I was just saved. Swami's grace. Swami's grace is most hidden, most indirect and most subtle. If we cannot show it in these direct forms, maybe we will still see Swami's hand, but the question is, will Swami accept our worship and reverence before it is sanctified by being offered to each one of these mothers? Right? We want Swami to accept what we are offering. Swami says, first love your mother. First show love to the people around you. First show love to all those who have contributed. Then come and thank me. Right? A very, very small message of Swami, how profound. It makes you lead a spiritual life. And this spiritual life is the need for even an ecological living today, isn't it? Yeah, Swami would say, you cannot have a moral society without it being spiritual. It is so intertwined, isn't it? So even if we want to lead a comfortable life, even if we want to lead a sustainable, ecologically green life, we have to turn to Swami's words of looking at everything around, Sarvam Kaluvidam Brahma. Whatever you see, whatever you use, even your footwear, everything is divine, right? And that state will start by, as I told that little girl, I told her, don't worry, learn to love the direct love that you get from your mother. Eventually you will learn to love the indirect love of Swami. Because you might be loving your mother, but be sure that love is reaching Swami. You might be loving the people around you, be sure that love is reaching Swami. So one day Swami will choose, now I'll show you my love, so that you can recognize it. Right? So thank you all for your very, very patient listening. I most humbly offer this effort at Swami's lotus feet.
ॐ जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्तजना संरक्षक भक्तजना संरक्षक भक्ति महेश्वरा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु शांति शांति शांति। जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।
प्रेम की ये पुकार दिल की पुकार तुमको अर्पण करे साईं माँ। मंजिल भी तुम्हें रास्ता भी तुम्हें हर कण कण में तुम्हें साईं माँ। यादें जुड़ी तुमसे हमारी और भी है रह गई बातें कही। यादें जुड़ी तुमसे हमारी और भी है रह गई बातें कही। लम्हे जो भरे सब प्रेम तुम्हारे हम जो भी आज हैं तुमसे ही बने। प्यार याद करते आज ही हम सभी साईं माँ साईं माँ साईं माँ। प्यार याद करते आज ही हम सभी
విద్యార్థులారా, నా పెద్ద ప్రాపర్టీ కాలేజీ పిల్లలే. నాకు మీకు డైరెక్ట్ కనెక్షన్ ఉంటుండాలి. నా వెంటనే ఉన్నాడు అనేటువంటి భావాన్ని దృఢం చేసుకోండి. ఈ రెండు సంబంధాన్ని భద్రంగా పెంచుకోండి. ప్రైమరీ స్కూలు, కాలేజీ, హైయర్ సెకండరీ స్కూల్ వీళ్ళందరు పిల్లలంతా కూడా నా వెంటనే ఉంటుంటారు. నన్ను వదిలి వారు పోరు, వారిని వదిలి నేను ఉండలేను. కనుక మా విద్యార్థులే నా ప్రాపర్టీ.
అడుగు అడుగునా నడిపించే సకుడవు అణువు అణువులోనా వినిపించే వేణువు విడదీయలేనిది మన బంధమే ఇది ప్రేమకై అంకితం మన ప్రియ స్వామికై అర్పితం మా హృదయం प्रेम की ये पुकार हर दिल की पुकार तुमको अर्पण करे साईं माँ। मंजिल तुम्ही रसता भी तुम्ही हर कण कण में तुम्ही साई सा